All right, it's gonna have a quick little practice session. It's not quite as cold as yesterday. Yesterday it was 20, less than 25 when I was in here. Now it's about 37, 38. All right, just gonna warm up. I brought a 9 iron, a 6 iron, and a 3 iron. I'm gonna start with the 9. Whew, nice and smooth. Let's find the club face. Right. Felt good for the first swing. Might even be ever so slightly towards the heel, just about perfect. Between there and maybe a eighth of an inch towards the toe is about where I like it. Perfect. Felt good. That's about as far towards the heel as I want to see it. That's the one I was looking for. That's what I was talking about. Just a hair closer towards the toe was perfect. You can see that first one was a hair towards the heel side. That second one was flush. I was talking to someone who was telling me they don't hit their wedges as far as they think they should. And what I generally see when people aren't hitting wedges or their short irons as far as they should, it's because they're really releasing. And instead of having nice forward shaft lean, getting their weight to their front foot at impact, they're hanging back and letting the shaft get back to like straight up and down, maybe even letting the club head pass like this. And at that point, you're adding loft to the club. You know, there's a reason a pitching wedge, 48 degrees, 47 degrees, goes shorter than a 9 iron, which is usually about 44 degrees. A 9 iron, it's because it has less loft. So if you want to hit your shorter clubs further, coming into the ball, you need to really be leading. I like to think of it, got this tip from Tiger years and years ago, the emblem of your glove. You want to be leading with your hands through to get this nice forward shaft lean, having that weight forward. I can turn this 9 iron into an 8 iron, into a 7 iron, loft-wise, by doing that. And you're also going to produce more spin, so it's going to stay in the air. So what happens if you're flipping and coming up on it, it might launch initially a little bit higher, but then it kind of drops due to spin. That's no good. I've always felt like, especially with short irons and little short 3/4 shots, it almost feels like you're just hitting it with your chest, with your sternum, where it feels, this is an exaggeration, but where your hands and your arms and your chest, this triangle that your arms and your chest make, you're just swinging that triangle. You don't want to just go like this and break the triangle. You don't want to coming into impact like this and break that triangle on those touchy shots. It's really just a turn back with your shoulders, get that weight onto your front foot, front heel specifically. A good drill is actually to try to pick your toes up coming into the ball, so your weight's more on your heel. Nice flexion in your lead wrist, forward shaft bend. And a really good drill for that, that's what I actually suggested, was taking a driveway marker or an alignment rod, alignment stick, and just jamming it down in the grip through the hole. It goes all the way down to the club head. Or you can, just hold it on the side of the club if you want. But obviously there's this, the rod's an extension here. So it forces you on this side to get your weight forward and have that nice forward shaft lean through impact. Because if I flip, it's just going to hit me. I can't do it. So it teaches you how to get that proper movement through. You can't really do a full finish because it'll hit you right here. But you can do these little sawed-off 3/4 finishes. And another thing it's good for is just checking your positions. I'm sure everyone knows the P positions. This position 1, P1, P2, P3, P4 is the top, P5, P6 is back here when you're parallel, P7 is impact, 8, 9, 10. That's what people, if you didn't know, that's what people are talking about when they say P2 or P6, whatever. So anyway, in the P2 position right here, so if this club is right on my toe line, this is representing my toe line, in the backswing, ideally, those two are about matching up right there. And my club face, this angle on the bottom edge of the club face, is somewhere near my spine angle. So if I had it, somewhere in here where it's straight up and down, that would be a little open, and that would be closed. So perfectly square is where that is just a little angled like that, basically where my spine angle is. And all this is a shoulder turn. Your arms and hands are very passive. I'm not doing this. See how this would be using my arms? That's way too much arm movement. It's just the chest that's moving off the ball. Until you get, about 3/4 of the way through, you want to just try to keep this triangle nice and loose and soft and connected until you get about 3/4 of the way to the top. Then the triangle breaks down just a little bit, and at that point where your club's about to get to the top and that triangle's breaking, you're kind of beginning to fall onto your front foot, onto your lead foot, specifically the heel, like I said. So as you're getting to the top and you're falling onto that front foot, I'm kind of all over the place right now. I'm talking about alignment, but falling onto your front foot at the top, perfect position again is this wrist nice and flat. You can see it matches the shaft and the club face. You don't want this wrist to be cupped or bowed too much. I mean, you can, there's room for error, but I'm just talking about perfect square positions that are Adam Scott Tiger 2000s. Boom, it's just a shoulder turn right to there. Right to there. And then all you got to do is as you're falling onto your front foot, you're coming down. And again, I'm very relaxed. I'm not trying to overdo anything. I'm just kind of letting the natural forces of gravity and momentum work. And that's where that little bit of like a wrist hinge, where your wrist, it's called like deviation, ulnar and radial deviation when your wrist cocks this way. So you get that little bit of a wrist cock, a little bit of just a loose hinge at the top as you're falling into your front foot. And you can see how that creates all this lag in the club. I'm taking it back wide and passive. And then at the top, just falling and letting that lag from nice tension-free wrists just fall right there. And then you get back down to the parallel to the ground position, P6. And from here, a lot of people have described it as a feeling of stopping. This is a big mistake a lot of people make. Let me grab a club without that. But similar to like smacking someone with a towel, I wouldn't just have all forward arm movement to hit you with this towel. I would pull back to make it snap. And that snapping action works the same way with a golf club, where when you're coming into the ball, you don't just want all forward with your body momentum. That'll actually slow the club down. I actually see people make that mistake where they're trying to swing really fast on the follow through, and that's actually slowing the club down compared to you're falling into your front foot, right? So everything's moving forward, you're getting the club started, it's coming down, and then right around this parallel to the ground, P6 position, like pulling your hand back with the towel, your lead leg is pushing up and away, and kind of relaxed, and having relaxed tension-free arms is key. Some people feel like they're stopping, even though you don't actually stop. Because look, if I'm coming down and I just stop, you see how then the club can slingshot through, and then it accelerates coming down, and then just stop. Versus if I'm just moving, like if you watch Rory, when he's coming into the ball, his hips actually move backwards a little bit as his club, they're rotating forward, and they slightly move backwards as the club slingshots through. Coming into it, and it's just forward, up and away. Or a stop. You're almost trying to stop your body, which then accelerates the club. Your body's natural braking system, some people call it. And it's just so easy. And I think having this, being able to just do this and swing rhythmically back and forth, I'm always surprised how many people can't do this. Just back and forth, just brushing the grass, starting slow, and then you can start to crank up the speed a little bit, and it's so effortless. And I can feel like right about here, I'm coming down, I'm just letting everything kind of fall onto that front foot. And when I get here, it's that front leg is pushing up and away. It's pushing kind of that way. Which then lets the club fire through. Instead of just trying to hit everything with my body. Hitting everything with your body, more of that feel, comes into play with shorter shots, kind of what I was talking about here, with a little bit more chest rotation. It's kind of a combination of those two things. So obviously you don't want to be totally loosey-goosey and let things slingshot through, unless maybe you're trying to crack your driver and have maximum speed. But you also don't want to be just rigid and slow when you're trying to produce speed. So there's some spectrums. Like when I'm hitting a little knockdown shot, for example, the more rigid Steve Stricker-like swing is more of the thought where I'm just kind of hitting it with my chest. But when I'm really trying to rip one, and say I hit my 8-iron 160 and I want to hit one 170, and I need a little extra speed, I get a little bit more of that feeling of stopping or pushing up and away with my front, which then again just allows the club to generate more speed and whip through. Club is this, 6-iron. Again, it's just right from the top, you're just falling into your front foot and letting gravity, because what happens is you start to come back, and by the time your club's here, all the weight that's going back inside your back heel should already be there. So as my club's getting to the top, I'm already falling into my front foot. It's not all the way to the top, my weight's all the way back, now everything goes forward. If you do that, you're too late. Before your club reaches the very top, the end of your backswing, you already want to be falling to that lead side, giving it a little head start. Because ideally, if your hips start here, they'll move back slightly, but then by the time you get to the top, they've recentered. They've come back to where they started. You see that very consistently with the best players in the world. They'll come off the ball a little bit, but by the time they get to the top, they've recentered and they're beginning to shift all of their pressure onto their lead foot. And just remember, nice and smooth, nice and relaxed. I almost feel like at this point, the more relaxed I am, the further I'm going to hit it, the faster I can get the club going, because then my body can act more like a whip versus a rigid pull. And again, just learning, if you're a slicer, that rhythmic swinging, I would suggest doing this figure-8 pattern. I know I've talked about it before, where you kind of come straight back and just let it fall to the inside, straight back. You can see how the club is kind of forming a figure-8. But if you hook the ball, you might even, sometimes as I'm trying to fade it, I'll do it even opposite, where I'll feel a little bit more to the left over the top of it, or just at least take a single practice swing, a little bit exaggerated over the top, just to get the feel. But more often than not, just a one plane, basically coming back on a plane, coming down on a plane. A two-dimensional plane though, because your hands come back and the club goes back wide. But when you're coming back down, you'll notice my hands and the club are a lot closer to me and everything is shifted down towards the target. So I'm going back and it's here, coming down and it's here. It's much closer to your body. So it's just a two-dimensional plane from the down the line view is the one plane. Again, just back, through, getting off topic. None of this is planned. I just had a couple things I wanted to talk about. Yeah. All right, let's hit more than 2 golf balls, because those are the only balls I've hit today. That was a little toey. Might have hooked it a bit. Actually, it wasn't that toey. See it a little bit over here. There's some old ball marks I didn't clean off before I hit. I think I just hooked it on my own. I was being a little too relaxed and flowy, exaggerating these feels. And again, a lot of these are more feels, and of course every player, depending on your individual tendencies, needs different things. You know, some people need to work on getting the club a little bit more shallow. Some people are too shallow and need to work on getting the club steeper. You can be a little too loosey-goosey. Obviously you don't want to be like totally noodle-armed, but I rarely see that issue. It's rare to see someone who's too loose and too relaxed and tension-free. Almost every time it's the opposite, where people are very like just stiff, and they end up getting a short backswing because of it. They don't finish their swing, their timing's off. Like I was explaining, when you try to rush your body through, it actually slows the club down. Instead of hitting the brakes and kind of, again, it's like pulling your hand back, but with your leg and your lower body. Because there's no need, once you've hit the ball is gone. So there's no need to hit the ball and then, you know, try to keep swinging fast. Unless you're in some deep fescue, some gnarly rough, and you really need to hack it out, might be one thing. But usually that's just slowing you down. Because I won't lie, if it's a little buried in the rough, I tend to be a little more tight with my grip through impact, because what will happen is the hairy grass will snag your hosel and tend to flip your club face closed. So if you grip it a little tighter, you kind of prevent the club from flipping closed and the gnarly thick stuff. But I'm just talking about a clean fairway lie. Just nice and relaxed, just falling into the front foot, letting gravity do everything, nice and easy. That wasn't the best strike. It was center of the face, but maybe it was a hair fat. I very much nitpick. I don't think that would have, it may have came up just ever so short. I mean, it was center. If it's not absolutely flush, I'm going to call myself on it. Try that again. Still warming up. These are only the only handful of balls I've hit today. That was pure. Very pure. Actually a little towards the heel side. It felt really nice though. Very nice. Divot to ball ratio. It's amazing how high off the face it fucking launches off the mat. I know I've said that in a ton of videos, but it really does. It launches super, ball's broken, super high on the club face. Not the ball goes high, but where the ball mark on the club is, it's much higher on a golf mat. Oh yeah, I forgot. I was hitting balls yesterday for the first time, and I've been developing a little bit too steep of a swing, I could feel, so I was shallowing that out. Forgot about that. I think those last few were, I was probably swinging a little too steep on it. Try to shallow things out a bit. That wasn't good. There it is. Much better. And relaxed. There. I know some friends that are good players that don't even warm up before they play. Not me. I always like to hit some balls. I don't feel like my my body feels tight. I feel like I need to dial in, my ball striking for the day, get my swing lubed up. scooped it. Actually, had one pretty heely over there, you can see. Rest were basically on the same spot. One was a little scoopy. I like to show where I hit the ball because I notice not a lot of people do that. And it's like, you can hit it all over the club face and the ball still goes halfway decent. And it's very misleading. But that's the swing right there. Been working on a couple things and I'm trying to remind myself. Like one thing I'm working on is I've been getting a little too much here, which isn't the worst spot, but instead of here, I know I hit it better if I get a little more here. The difference being here versus here. I'm trying to get just a little more flat and rounded off in my backswing, a little closer to this arm and my shaft matching my shoulder plane just above it, as opposed to too high. That, and I think my angle of attack is a little bit steep because I've been really digging down after it. So I'm trying to just shallow things out just a little bit, angle of attack wise. Not so much drop more to the inside, shallow, but just the attack angle. So basically trying to swing up on it a little bit more. Yeah. Starting to work up a sweat. That's the swing. It's nice to warm up first before I start filming myself. Actually, favoring the heel a little more than usual today. You can see they're slightly off the heel, more favoring. Normally, I'm more of a toe side. Normally, for me at least, when I start to catch it more heely than normal, what's happening, it's all in my trail foot. I'm letting my trail foot come up and towards the ball before I hit it. Because if you do think about it, if you lift that leg, you see how it pushes everything heel side. Instead of ideally, especially with an iron, that foot either stays planted or kind of rolls inside this knee, your back knee. You want to be coming in towards your other knee. You don't want it to be coming out towards the ball. You want it to be moving this way, not this way. So if you're heeling the ball, shaking it, I see that a lot from people who heel it. 'Cause if you go like this in an attempt to drop to the inside, it feels like you're dropping to the inside, but it's hard to not have the club push further away from you, which of course in return makes you heel the ball. Try to not do that. And I did not heel it, that's for sure. I left the face open on that one. Flush contact though. Still hitting about the same spot. Might have been a little more towards over here. Yeah, I'm gonna clean these. Kind of start fresh. Heeling the ball. It's good. I also only barely played this year. I am very rusty and out of practice. That was the launch. Much better. That was, if anything, a hair favoring the toe side. Grab the basket. Wasn't so much focused on any kind of shot shape or distance or anything on any of those swings. I was just trying to warm up, get the swing loosened up. Here, I'm going to go back to the 9-iron. Hit a couple already with the 9-iron. Let's try to, oh yeah, I healed one of those too. You can see there's a little heely. That one was perfect. Let's see if I can stick to that. This glove also feels funny. It's not that big of a deal, but just to have your thumb popped out. Same spot. Oh, real nice. Just smooth swings. So we're only going about $1.50. And my 9-iron is a real 9-iron. It's crazy how many people I've been seeing lately with a pitching wedge that's 44 degrees, which is a 9-iron. It's just weird to me. 9-iron, 44, 43 degrees is the stronger 9-iron. But like Bryson DeChambeau, his pitching wedge is 40 degrees, which is identical locked as my 8-iron, and it has a 7-iron length shaft in it. So no wonder that guy hits his wedge 170 yards. It's an extra long 8-iron, essentially. But that's the new trend, is to have, a 44 degree pitching wedge. And that's why these guys online are saying they hit their wedge 150 yards, because it's a 9-iron. I mean, that with a 44 degree club would have been about 150. Just a regular stock, little smooth swing. It's more about purity of technique than it is muscles. You don't need a lot of effort to hit the ball far. I mean, if I want to hit the ball far, like I said, I almost feel more relaxed. Try to hit one a little harder. Feel more relaxed. That was probably a good 155, 160. Harder yet. If I'm getting over 155, 160 with the 9, I gotta start to draw the ball, so I close everything. Just feel like swinging a little out to right field while covering the ball, de-lofting it. Might play it a hair further back in my stance, and which makes it more draw bias. Because think about it, if your swing plane is a circle, right? And according to the new laws of ball flight, which are accurate, your swing path needs to be coming from the inside to put the draw spin on it. So if your swing path is, coming from the inside, and then, you're swinging back around this way, the further back in your stance, the more draw bias your swing path is. And just the opposite, the more forward in your stance, the more the club is starting to travel back to the left, which will be more fade bias and put that type of spin on it. So I'm really trying to cover one. I might throw it back, an inch or two, the width of a golf ball in my stance, aim out to the right. And it's not just your feet. I see a lot of people, when they go to draw the ball, they just go like this. And I didn't really do much besides move my feet. I honestly rather see, instead of moving the feet, if they're going to only move one, is close their shoulders, and you're going to be more likely to draw the ball. But, both feet and shoulders out to the right, nice and closed. Might hood that club face just a little bit, and swing down my foot line to the right. Really trying to get that forward press, lead with the emblem of my glove. Get a nice pinch on the ball, hit a nice sweeping draw. 160, 9-iron. like that. It's about max for my 9-iron, 160. Again, it's 44 degrees though, which is, so some people I could hit their pitching wedge that far. So we're at the bottom. I always see these videos online where it's like, how far do you hit your pitching wedge? Or what would you hit from 150, whatever the shot is? And people will just be like, pitching wedge, 7-iron, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, what does that mean? If these days, Tiger Woods' pitching wedge is 49 degrees, which is a little weak by today's standards. Originally, a pitching wedge was 52 degrees. And then got stronger to 49, and then it was 48. 47 has been the standard pitching wedge for years now, and then I guess they started making 46 degree, 45, and now there's pitching wedges at 44 degrees, which it seems like it should be illegal to, you know, print a, not that it really matters what the bottom of the club says, but all it's doing is people now have to get another wedge to put between their pitch. They'll get a 48 degree wedge, which is the same as my pitching wedge, to fill the gap between their pitching wedge and their next longest wedge. It doesn't really make a difference to me what the bottom of the club says, and I've been playing the same lofts forever. I don't think I'll switch because I know what my 9-iron carries, or my 7-iron, my pitching wedge. I know how to take some yards off of them to hit the number. So I don't think I'll ever switch really the style and loft iron I play. I'm not a big fan of a chunky club head, big thick top line. I don't like looking at that. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. Last one, felt good. But I'm gonna get out of here. Got some work to do. Keep grinding, keep it metal, peace, and 44 degrees will always be a 9-iron. It's not a pitching wedge. Peace.